Permadeath, Chapter 1, The Red-Headed Warrior. Business trip finally ended. Dog greeted me at the door, all paws, barks, and licks. He was so excited. The second member of the house, my son Josh, I figured was probably in his room. Josh, Joshy, I called. Nothing. Maybe he's gone for a walk or something. I knocked on the door to his room. Still no sound. Joshua? All right. Teenage boy with his door closed. I am an experienced mom. I understood the risk involved, but I really didn't care. It's nothing I haven't seen before, right? I flung the damn door open and, whew! There he was, with his head still buried in that stupid virtual reality set. Josh, hon, I'm back, sweetie. Can you unplug for a sec? Hello? It's your mommy. Good old mom, you know, that thing that brings you food. I walked over and nudged the boy who was slumped in the chair. Jeez, Josh, you hurt your back sleeping like that. At least move to your bed. I paused for a moment and gave him a once-over, and I couldn't help but notice that he looked a bit thin and pale. Josh, you okay there, buddy? Let me just take this stupid thing off your head and... I pulled and pulled, jerked and tugged, but the headset wouldn't come off. Josh, come on, honey, wake up. How do I get this damn thing off? Do I need to press a button or something? I noticed a red one, and I pushed it. Something flashed in the device, and it projected an image above me. I looked up and saw a dark and ominous sky, so real and dreadful that it seemed as though the room had no ceiling. The dog even began barking at it. Before I could get a grasp of the situation, I suddenly heard thuds so loud they were practically shaking the entire building. What the hell? Something cast a shadow on us. As I looked up, I saw some type of demon peering down at me, its eyes moving in so close to me. It was like he was watching me, peering into my soul. But as I looked back into those haunting eyes, I could see the reflection of a woman with dark red hair lying on the ground. She was dressed in medieval armor and covered in blood, appeared to be dying. At that point, I had had just about enough. I didn't care how much the fucking thing cost, and with everything I had in me, I just yanked the VR off his head, breaking it apart. Josh's eyes were wide open, seemingly lifeless, skin cold, pulse. No. Josh? No! I screamed. I shook him. Nothing. What the fuck? It had been a few weeks, and I had found myself utterly, completely alone. I was in such a state of shock that even the funeral was a blur to me. All just faces and voices of people I was supposed to know. People who seemed like strangers for some reason. Others, hugging, kissing, crying. But I couldn't cry. I am his mom, and I couldn't shed a tear. I guess I couldn't believe any of this was really happening. The shock hasn't left my body. What the hell happened? Why did he die? The medical examiner was also baffled. He just couldn't give me a clear answer, though before our conversation ended, he blurted something at how it seemed as though Josh's body kept going while his mind was gradually shutting down. It was his only explanation. He said that he's never seen anything like that. I honestly don't know what to make of it. All I knew was that my son, the only family and the only real friend I had, was dead, and I couldn't understand why he left me all alone. At night, nightmares would haunt me. I dreamt of that dark, barren wasteland I saw in the ceiling of Josh's room. I was there, wading through the mist. Josh! Josh, I called, looking for him in the bleak emptiness. Josh! Joshua, I'm here! Perhaps in my twisted dream logic, he was still alive there, lost somewhere in that awful place. I just needed to find him, to drag him back into reality, and that would bring him back to life. Josh, I'm here for you, I kept calling, looking, until I saw the red-haired woman there, lying, bleeding. Maybe she knows where Josh is, I thought. Maybe she's connected to him somehow. I came over to her, but then suddenly appeared that demonic being. Sunlight. Dog paws on my bed, licks and all. It was just the dog. Right? I wasn't completely alone after all. I still had Bilbo. That's our little dog. Josh named him after that little hobbit, that little person from a fantasy book that saves the world. He said it's a token of how the smallest and weakest of creatures was actually the most important one, despite everyone doubting him for his small stature, lack of knowledge, or lack of strength for that matter. He was still the hero, because he was the most courageous. How my boy loved those fantasy tales. Even when he was a little boy, he combed his eyes over the pages of the thick fantasy tomes. I remember always being impressed with that, how such a little boy could read such big books. In the days and weeks after his death, people kept knocking on my door. I wish they'd just leave me alone. I didn't want the fake condolences of people who never really knew him. I couldn't really blame them, though. It's what you do in a decent society, right? Even his classmates came. Some admitted that they really didn't know him well, since he was shy and kept to himself. They told me they mostly saw him either reading books, which he was hiding under the school books or pencil box, or just draw during class when the teacher thought he was taking notes. Strange. I don't remember him showing me any drawings. Eventually, the visits and phone calls stopped, as did the condolences and all the well-wishing. It occurred to me that the formula for consolation that society had fashioned, the one that's supposed to alleviate pain, is useless. It did nothing to take the edge of the pain I felt. So I thought maybe the best thing was to just keep to myself, to grieve on my own. Stepping into Josh's room was difficult, but I eventually mustered the courage to do it. It was his little kingdom, with all his gaming equipment, bookshelves stacked with fantasies, knight figurines, and dragon posters. When I noticed a notebook protruding from his open school bag, I pulled it out and opened it. In it were scribblings and drawings of all sorts of medieval-looking things, maps, characters, creatures, weapons, and relics. Captions and bits of text were added here and there, short descriptions. All in all, the whole thing was pretty impressive, an indication that my child was more creative than I ever realized. Was Josh writing a fantasy story, I wondered? Why didn't he ever show this to me? God, maybe he was afraid to show me. Afraid that I would just say, "That's nice, dear, now get back to your homework." I probably would have. I silently scolded myself for being so practical all the time. But someone had to be. I didn't used to be that way. Maybe he just thought I'm too old to understand, or worse, maybe I just never showed enough interest. Oh, Josh, I wish you were still here to tell me why. It feels like you were living in your own world, a world only you seem to have known about. I marveled as I flipped through the pages. The details were incredible. He drew so realistically, so intensely. One drawing appeared to be a self-portrait, albeit a very warped version of the Josh I knew, as if part of his face was being swallowed by a circular vortex. At the center of the swirling helix, I noticed the backside of this female warrior, with a sword on her belt, standing proudly with her hands at her waist and looking back. I looked at her more closely, wondering if she was the woman I saw when my son died, the fiery red-haired woman in my dreams. But I just couldn't tell. The LED light on the virtual reality set was blinking, distracting me. I was sure I broke the damn thing. It looked so pointless without Josh. I walked over to his computer and picked up the device, searching for some way to turn it off. It was a strange-looking gadget, like a futuristic half-helmet for bikers, and it felt very light in my hands. Interesting, I thought, as I turned it over in my hands a couple of times. How crazy would it be if I put it on, I wondered. Will I see what he saw? Slowly and carefully, I lifted it and placed it on my head. I could feel something, as if the device was connecting with my brain. Then, as though I had lost consciousness, everything went dark.
A character awoke under the falling leaves of an oak tree. It was as if she had woken up in the world for the first time. She marveled at everything around her, even at her own hands, wanting to touch and feel everything she saw. She stumbled a bit, as if learning to walk for the first time. Who is she? Where did she come from? The people who saw her were both bemused and confused, just as mesmerized by her as she was by absolutely everything.
Everything was blurry at first, but it was beginning to slowly sharpen. It kept sharpening and sharpening, until I could see all the fine details. The grass, the trees, the leaves. Damn, it was as real as reality itself. The light hit my face. I could even kind of feel the warmth of it. I stared at my hands. They were different from mine, longer. I sank them deep into the earth and clenched my fingers into a fist. Stronger. I looked over my virtual body, seeing that I'm wearing a strange and medieval-looking leather outfit with a sword strapped to my belt. Why do I have a sword? I wondered. Still a bit disoriented, I tried getting up, but I couldn't quite do it. I'm controlling myself with my brain, I realized, but I couldn't quite get used to it. I kept falling, tripping, moving out of sync. I was never good at video games. I tripped near a puddle. Is that my reflection? Is that my character? I touched my face. She was beautiful. Blonde, long hair, pale and tall. I couldn't stop looking. It felt surreal. She was slightly younger, not by much. She was like a fantasy version of myself. Again, I tried to stand. Little by little, I started to get the hang of it. Soon I found my center of balance and was able to walk, run, and jump. It was just like in real life, only never that fast, never that strong. I was enchanted, mesmerized by the sights and sounds, lost in a trance.
Are you all right, lady?
Shocked that someone else was there, I looked around. There were many others, occupying that Renaissance-era marketplace, all dressed in medieval garb, mingling beneath the moated castle. Are these other players from the internet? They must be. Oh my God, I kept saying to myself. It feels so real. I touched everything around me. The gorgeously embellished dresses on display in the market stalls, the swords, the armor, the leather items, and even the horses. Good morrow to you. Would you like to try a raspberry? Asked a bright-faced lady carrying a tray full of raspberries. I curiously took one from the tray. As I took the first bite, a sudden burst of sweetness broke into my mouth. My God, it tastes so good! So real, I said. It's as if I actually just ate something, I wondered out loud, touching my stomach. The lady laughed at me. Why, of course you did! This is insane. Everything here seems genuine, real. Even you, I said, staring at her in wonder. What? What do you mean, milady? She asked, wrinkling her brow in confusion. Are you well? Can I said, then couldn't stop myself from reaching out to touch her hair and then her face. What are you doing? She asked, her eyes following my hand suspiciously. Her face felt so real. Next, I reached for her billowy cleavage that seemed to be barely contained by her tight corset. Would they feel real too? Hey! The startled woman screamed and threw the tray into the air. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to, I stuttered, hearing the laughter of strangers as they were looking at us. Embarrassed out of my mind, I whipped the headset off, immediately warping back to reality. I was breathing hard. My heart was racing and my hands were shaking. What am I doing, I thought, as reality set back in. It wasn't real, as it looked and felt. They were all just video game characters, controlled by people, players from the internet. It was a make-believe place. Make-believe. Just pixels on a screen. I needed to clear my head. I hurried onto bed. I tried to close my eyes, but I couldn't. I was too obsessed by what I had seen. Is this the madness that enthralled my son? I wondered. Is this what killed him? I rolled left, then I rolled right, trying to shake those thoughts away, but sleep would not come. Do they even know their game killed a young boy? Where are the warning labels on that thing? And how dare they just keep playing it like nothing happened? Those thoughts echoed in my head over and over, not letting me sleep, aggravating me to a point where my body couldn't contain it any longer. Angrily, I jumped out of bed and marched back to Josh's room. I crammed my head into the VR set again. Everything worked for a moment. Hearing the loud clunk of a hammer striking an anvil, I was in the market again. Everyone was blabbering and yakking all around me, dressed in their medieval costumes. All of them were fully in character, chattering loudly, acting as the characters they chose to be, pretending to be them. But I was in no mood to pretend. All I could think of in that moment was Josh. My son is dead because of this fucking shit, I thought, because of a stupid game. I couldn't stand hearing them talk any longer. I felt like my mind was going to explode. "Shut up!" I yelled at the top of my lungs. I screamed so loudly and for so long that everyone and everything went completely silent. The jibber-jabbering stopped, and the blacksmiths and the workers held their tools still in midair, all of them staring at me with questions in their eyes. "What the fuck are you doing?" I asked. "Huh? Haven't you done enough hiding behind your virtual masks? Stop this goddamn charade. You caused the death of a human being. Do you know that? Do you even care that someone died because of your stupid game? Who runs this show? Where can I find you? I want answers, and you owe me justice after what you took from me." All eyes remained on me, but no one spoke a word. It was as if they were all just too shocked to respond.
Goodness me, she must be suffering from common delirium. Methinks she's as drunk as a wheelbarrow.
"Stop! This is not just a game to me, so you can just stop play acting now."
My lady, art thou inebriated?
Asked me a concerned-looking guard, dressed in chainmail.
Mayhaps you ought to seek repose at the Citadel Inn.
"I swear I'll shut this whole thing down," I announced angrily, drawing my sword.
How dare you threaten a guard of the Citadel? I advise thee to hand thine sword over at once, lest forceful action be taken.
"You know what?" I shook my head at him and threw the weapon on the ground. "You're all fucking insane." Suddenly, everything went dark. I jerked the VR headset off. Oh, fuck this shit. Maybe now I can get some sleep. Chapter 3. Video games are from hell. What the hell? I couldn't possibly sleep with that annoying sound blaring in my ears. I looked around for the source of it and realized it was coming from Josh's room. I recalled I forgot to turn the computer off. I forced myself up, went into my son's room, and looked at his monitor. There was something on the screen, some sort of message from a chat server. Who could it possibly be? Someone from his school, I wondered? Don't they know he's gone? I looked up at the person's profile. He had an avatar of a hooded figure. Then I looked down at the unread messages that were sent. "Hi, Josh. Everything okay? Haven't seen you in chat for a few weeks now. Well, get back to me when you can." Whoever it was, he obviously didn't know about my son's death, and I didn't feel it was appropriate to just chat that kind of news to him. I used the messenger call option to get in touch. It took a while, but he eventually answered.
Hello?
"Hello," I answered. "I'm Melinda, Josh's mother."
Oh, I'm Callum, a friend of his. It's nice to meet you, Melinda. Is Josh there? He hasn't been answering my messages for a while now.
Not sure how to tell him the truth, I pursed my lips, clenched my fist, and closed my eyes. "Josh, passed away," I finally blurted.
What? He passed away?
"Yes," I said.
What happened? I mean, how?
"Heart failure," I said, struggling to compose myself. No one is really sure what caused it. Are you still there? I asked.
I can't believe it. He seemed so healthy. Who would have thought? I'm very sorry, Melinda. No mother should have to endure the death of her child.
No, I whimpered, my eyes shimmering with tears. After a bit of sniffling silence on my end, I continued. How do you know Josh exactly? You said you two were friends?
We were friends. Well, internet friends, that is. We never met in real life. We often played a game together via the internet.
Yes, I know what game you're talking about. I've been there.
You've been inside the game world?
I was. It's this internet game where everyone plays like make-pretend characters in a make-believe world, right? Like some sort of virtual reality for the Middle Ages?
It is more than make-believe, Melinda. It's very realistic. A hardcore role-playing world.
I'm not sure I understand what that means.
It means you don't actually go there yourself. It's just where a character representing you goes, but everyone there takes it very, very seriously. It becomes part of their identity, and they never go out of character.
Never?
Never. It's forbidden. That's the cornerstone of the game. Real life must never cross into the game world. The immersion must never be broken.
Well, I guess I screwed that up for them, I said. I really couldn't have given a less of a flying fuck for their role-playing. They need to be held accountable for what happened to my Joshua.
Do you really think the game had anything to do with his death?
I know it did.
Why?
Because it was still running when I found him. It was the last thing Josh had a connection to. Callum was silent. There's something even more eerie. I saw a demon there, a large, scary devil staring at me, I said, with my voice slightly quivering as I recalled the horror. In the reflection in his eye, I saw a red-haired woman. She was dying, with blood coming out of her nose. I've tried to forget, but I just can't get that image out of my mind.
Isabella.
Who?
Josh's character, Isabella. The woman you saw was probably her. The one your son portrayed. If she was dying...
What if she was?
Well, it almost sounds as if the two of them died at the same time.
No, she was still alive, but Josh was already dead by then.
That's impossible. Isabella cannot be alive without Josh.
I know what I saw.
Then I don't know what to say,
Callum retorted, before a most uncomfortable silence ensued between us. It's a freaking game, I said in anguish, putting an end to the quiet. What does it even mean to die in a video game anyway? Can you just come back to life or restart the game or whatever?
In any other game, yes, but this game is different. It's a permadeath world.
Permadeath?
Yes, as in permanent death. Every player gets to play just one character, and, just like in real life, has one life. If your character dies, it is forever. There is nothing one can do to bring it back. In permadeath, there are no second chances.
So Josh was playing a character all this time? He had a double life?
Well, I always had a feeling virtual reality was his only life. No offense, but you should have seen him there. He was like a whole other person.
A woman? I said, wondering what it means.
A hero. I'll explain. See, inside the game
I don't care about inside the game, I interrupted. A bunch of weirdos are inside the game.
Your son was among them.
My son was an addict. This game is like a fucking drug. I should have stopped it. I should have put an end to it a long time ago. I shook my head and looked at the VR headset. I wanted to throw it out the window and the computer along with it. I wish this game never existed. I wish Josh never fucking played it.
Melinda, I
don't understand, Callum. Is my son really dead because of a computer game? He played for hours on end, never left his room. If this goddamn game took his life, well, it's pure evil. That's what. I'm going to sue the assholes who made it. Whoever brought this damn curse upon the world. They're no better than drug traffickers. I'll get a lawyer and sue their asses for all they're worth. They killed my son. And I will have justice for Josh. I was mad, furious. I couldn't sleep. I kept staring at the ceiling, thinking all sorts of mean thoughts. God, I wanted them to suffer. But I couldn't find any information about the company. The game was called the Haze, and there was no more About Us or Contact Us options in their website, not even a forum or a chat. All that was written there was just technical jabber, description of the hardware necessary to play, all the specs on the necessary VR headset, along with that heavily emphasized rule that everyone had to stay in character at all times, or they would be banned the second they break character. But could I really sue them? I began obsessively researching the topic of video game companies and lawsuits, Googling articles and even reading full court documents. The first famous precedent I found was in 1997, a case of the game Mortal Kombat, when a player pretending to be one of the characters stabbed his friend in the chest with a kitchen knife, which led to his death. The mom of the boy who was stabbed sued the game makers. In her complaint, Andrea Wilson alleges that Mortal Kombat was designed with the use of extremely sophisticated futuristic technology that was intended to cause the user to believe and physically feel that he is actually participating in the violent battles. I reported these findings to Callum, and he sent some YouTube links to show me how Mortal Kombat looked back in the 1990s. By comparison to the graphics of modern games, that would look like a silly, goofy cartoon with two characters in funny costumes fighting each other. It was so far removed from the VR that my Josh played, a game where everything seemed so real. You sure that's the Mortal Kombat they're talking about? I asked.
Yes, in the 90s it was considered futuristic technology.
I guess it's not so much about graphics. The mother must have been more concerned with the boy's strong connection to the character, which affected his behavior, though her case was dismissed, courtesy of that damn First Amendment.
Have you found anything else?
Well, a 2003 game called Grand Theft Auto has had some trouble with a real violent one where the goal is to hijack cars and shoot people.
Yeah, I know that game. Everybody knows GTA. It has quite the reputation.
Apparently, one addicted 18-year-old suddenly snapped and went on a real-life crime spree, shooting 3 police officers. After he was captured, he allegedly said, "Life is a video game. Everyone's got to die sometime."
Nothing more than a common psycho. No one can say the game was really at fault.
I guess you're right. The First Amendment took care of that one, too.
Anything else?
In 2004, there was World of Warcraft.
Oh, yeah. Everybody knows that one, too.
Well, I didn't until now, I snapped. Frankly, Callum, I'd appreciate it if you wouldn't tell me how much everyone knows. Not everyone plays video games. I don't, at least. At that, Callum remained silent. I read that some Chinese teenager who played Warcraft for endless hours jumped to his death from a high-rise. His suicide note said he wanted to join the heroes of the game he worshipped, hoping to be reunited with his fellow cyber players in heaven. Fuck, how sad is that?
That poor kid. It must have really done a number on him. Josh's case wasn't suicide, though.
No, it wasn't. Anyway, in 2002, some guy in Hawaii sued a video game company for creating Lineage 2. He claimed to be psychologically dependent and addicted to the game and was unable to function independently in usual daily activities, such as getting up, getting dressed, bathing, or communicating with family and friends.
That's absolutely ridiculous. Seriously, people need to take personal responsibility for their own actions. If he was an addict, that was his problem.
Callum said, then stopped short, as if he realized it could have reflected on Josh. I looked down for a moment, not knowing what to say.
Look, Melinda, I personally don't think any of those cases relate to Josh. His circumstances were unique. The incidents you described were just games. But for Josh, well, really, the Haze is really transmogrification to a new identity, a new you.
I still could find no words. I don't know why. Maybe I do know. Maybe this whole identity talk reminded me again that Josh was playing a female after all these years. Not only did I lose my son, but I was left to wonder about that. Why does it bother me so much?
Are you all right, Melinda?
Yes, I'm fine.
Look, a lawsuit won't accomplish much, other than forcing them to change the way they label games. They may have to add warnings and age restrictions, but even that won't stop people from playing them hours on end, no more than the Surgeon General warnings have stopped people from smoking.
Then I'll go to the media. It could raise awareness, bring some justice for Josh.
The media won't help you. They don't care about truth and justice. They rely on sensationalism. Sure, you'll be a PR spectacle for a while, a human interest story, clickbait on YouTube, a reference on a web page, or a small entry on Wikipedia. But in the end, everyone is quick to forget about headlines and move on to the next thing.
So what do I do, Callum? I just can't sit around and do nothing. That game killed my son.
I don't know. I don't have an answer, Melinda.
Well, I don't care what you say. I'm going to the press with this. Maybe it'll get the word out and save someone else's life.
Melinda, please don't do that. Josh won't be seen as a victim. He'll be a mockery. Everyone will think of him as some irresponsible kid with even more irresponsible parent. No one will understand the intricacies involved.
Irresponsible parent? Those words disabled me for a moment.
Are you all right? I didn't mean to say it like that.
No, it's okay, really. Thank you for helping me, Callum. I'm just tired a bit, I guess. I need to sleep on it. Good night.
Good night, Melinda.
Certainly we can help,
said the reporter with an unnerving hiss in his voice or on the phone connection.
We will dig up the truth. That's what journalism is. Just tell us what happened. Tell us everything.
My heart told me not to, but I had to take my chances. I filled him in on all I knew about the Haze and Permadeath, about my son and his VR headset and his untimely death under strange circumstances, even about the way I found him and the strange things I'd seen when I tried the headset myself. The story was published quickly and almost immediately went viral. The headlines popped up all over the internet. Stupid boy dies playing computer game all day. Josh's picture was slathered on multiple websites, with captions dubbing him deceased excessive gamer and other such hurtful things. But the headlines and the captions and the stories were not enough. The commentary from readers was even worse. There seemed to be a new remark or post every second. How could he be so stupid? Where were his parents? Sheesh, talk about negligence. In a rage, I picked up the phone and dialed the reporter. What the hell did you do? I asked. My son was a victim, but now everyone just thinks he was some stupid and pathetic, and they're blaming me. This is not what I wanted.
I will put you on television so you can tell your side of the story.
Television? Oh, no. I turned the TV on and flipped up to all the news channels. To my horror, Josh's story seemed to be the scoop of the hour, and everyone put a negative spin on it to make us look like fools. That kid needed discipline, spewed some talking head. What was his mom thinking? Who lets a kid play computer games all day? How stupid does someone have to be to die playing a computer game? Asked someone in the studio audience. Before long, on another channel, a hostess sat at a round table and announced, "We're joined by two guests today to discuss an important issue. Please welcome Melinda Mercer, Josh's mother, and Dr. Amelia Earhartz. Dr. Earhartz is the author of the bestseller, Parenting the Right Way." I had resigned to join the talk show, so I could at least have some say, but now I found myself sitting across from a pug-faced woman who wore a seemingly constant frown. She can't be real, can she? Melinda, let me start with you. Do you think the game is to blame for your son's fatal addiction? Absolutely, it's like a drug. Unless you've played it, you can't possibly understand it. It's not only addictive, it takes control of who you are and— Absolute rubbish, Dr. Earhartz cut in. If your child chose to be irresponsible and play a game all day, and if you did nothing to change that behavior, what we're really looking at is a case of parental negligence. Frankly, Mrs. Mercer, it may warrant further investigation. Are you questioning my ability to be a good mother? I most certainly am, said the doctor, as she straightened her ugly, thick-rimmed glasses. How about you mind your own damn business? Have you ever thought of that? Mrs. Mercer, please, we won't accomplish anything here if we cannot engage in a respectful debate, the hostess intervened. If you wanted respectful, you should have invited that bitch, I answered. Mrs. Mercer, with all due respect, I think this might be of great help to you, Dr. Earlhart said as she slid a copy of her ridiculously thick self-help book over to me. Lady, you don't know a damn thing about parenting, the right way or otherwise. I loved my son, and this is what I think of you and your work. And I said it. This is what I think of you and your work, I said. Then I snatched the book, stood and threw it right in her fucking face, nearly knocking her out of her chair. Mrs. Mercer! Yelled the TV hostess. I was a good mom, damn it! I screamed as I jumped on top of her and started choking her. She struggled to breathe as I tightened my grip on her wrinkled throat, and some blood trickled out of her nose as she flailed about helplessly, grasping at me with her chubby fingers. I was a great mom, lady! What? I can't hear you, I yelled at her, never loosening my hold. Then suddenly there was a silence and stillness in her eyes, wide as quarters, stared at me from behind her thick glasses. Oh my God! She's dead! Someone from the audience screamed. You'll get life for this, said the TV hostess. Sirens echoed in the distance, and I knew the police were coming after me. Wait. Bed? Night? Dog paws? Oh, it was a relief to know it was just a dream, but it felt so real for a moment. Thanks, Bilbo, I said to the pet, who always seemed to know when I was in distress. I was about to go for life. Who would have taken care of you then, huh? More sleepless nights. More and more of those nightmares of the red-haired woman in the strange dark land fighting those evil-looking demons. Every time I could only look on helplessly. What can I do? I can't help her fight those demons. I'm just a mom. I'm not a hero. I kept waking up from that nightmare. Particularly that one night when the nightmares didn't let me sleep. That's when I slid my arms into my jacket and went outside for a nightly walk. Something was wrong. I felt it. It was almost like Josh was still alive somehow in that world. He and this game and had this connection that was beyond life. Almost like it killed him by sucking him inside. How crazy does that sound? I was sure I was going insane even thinking such a thing. I walked back home and into his room and stared at the blinking LED on the VR headset. A strange thought began to brew in the back of my mind. What if I go inside the game and look for that woman? What if she's still alive? Since my hands were too shaky for me to even put the headset on without dropping it, I opened Josh's sketchbook again instead. I thought there might be something there, something that could help me. I looked at one of the maps again, one he titled the Haze. On one side was a place labeled Lightkeep, and on the other was a much larger, darker, and sinister-looking place called the Darklands. Between them was a vast space labeled No Man's Land. I flipped through more pages and froze at what I saw. A simple drawing titled Lightkeep, a fort with a castle towering above its embattled walls. It looked so familiar to me, and after staring at it for a few moments, carefully examining each of Josh's pencil strokes, I realized that was a place I'd been before. That's what made me freeze. I've seen it in the game. Yes, the more I looked at it, the more I was convinced. That was where the marketplace was, under that Lightkeep. Dots were beginning to connect. My son wasn't just making up his own fantasy. It was not a novel he was writing. It was a journal, a record of what was inside that world. The sketches and descriptions revealed the various landmarks he actually saw, artifacts that existed in that world. Those creatures he had drawn must have been the demons he had waged battles against. As I kept flipping through the pages, it struck me that maybe my son left it for me. That strange feeling that had been building up inside me, with all those unanswered questions, suddenly had this strange epiphany that I could feel in my entire body. It shot from my mind into my heart. I must do this. I must go into his game world. I must find out the answer for myself.
Hello?
I don't want you to think I'm crazy, I said when I called Callum at some ungodly hour of the night. But since we both think that whatever happened to Josh is connected to that game world, well, I've been thinking, can't I just go in there and find out? Can't I just play my own character and search for his Isabella?
Are you serious?
I am.
Can you stay in character always? That's the rule, you know.
How hard can it be? I won't break the immersion. I'll be part of the story.
Are you sure you want to do this?
I'm done dilly-dallying.
Well, I admire your tenacity, but I'm concerned that it could end very fast for you.
I'm sure I could do it, Callum, I said. I'll go all out, trust me. There's nothing more dangerous on planet Earth than an angry mom with nothing to lose.
Yeah, maybe. But you'll be an angry mom who's a novice, a beginner with a level 1 character. You have no idea what you'll be up against.
No, but I don't know anything that's going on there, but isn't that the point of it all, with these big epic fantasies?
What point?
It isn't necessarily the strongest, the biggest, or the wisest, that it's often the unlikeliest, smallest, and weakest make the best heroes. Even hobbits can save the world, right?
Maybe in books. A book has only one author. The Haze has many, as each player is the author of their own characters. You have little chance to survive without some all-powerful, unseen guiding hand to help you.
What about you?
What about me?
Well, I just thought, as Josh's friend, you'd want to help.
No, I can't help you. For all intents and purposes, my character is dead. As I told you, every person can only play one character, and dead characters do not come back to life. Their players cannot return. If you choose to go, you'll be on your own.
I understand.
Fine then. Do what you have to do. Just don't ever break the immersion. You'd be living in a medieval setting. You have to act the part. Don't mention anything about modern life, and don't use modern slang words. Don't say or do anything that will give a sensation of real life crossing into the game world. It will create a schism that will disestablish the immersion and destroy the virtual fabric of realism that is so carefully woven there. Do you understand? That's against the rules, and the penalty is banishment forever. You won't be able to even log into the server.
Got it.
Now, tell me about your character. What is her purpose?
She's searching for the redhead, for Isabella. She wants to know how she died. If she is dead, I mean.
And what is your character's name? How does your character know Isabella? Why is she searching for her?
I don't know.
Think about it, about everything. You have to have a reasonable backstory, Melinda. You only have one life there, one chance. And remember, if your character dies, you can no longer play. You'll never be able to be part of the game world again.
Permadeath?
Exactly.
Before we ended the call, I managed to ask Callum the question I'd been dreading to ask, the thought that I'd been repressing since the moment I found out about it. Callum, did Josh tell you anything about why he played as a woman and not a man?
We never really discussed it. It's fantasy, though. That's the whole point. Sometimes people just desire to experience something different. It doesn't necessarily mean anything.
But could it?
I suppose.
Maybe that's why Josh had such drive to play. Maybe that's why Josh had such drive to play. Maybe that's why his drawings of Isabella are so immaculate, so detailed, more than any of the others. Do you think?
I don't know.
Sorry if this topic makes you feel uncomfortable, I said, feeling the discomfort in his voice.
No, it's fine. We just never talked about it.
Thank you, Callum. You've helped me more than enough. I guess I should go now. I need to mentally prepare myself before I go in again.
Sure, Melinda. Good night.
Good night. As soon as the conversation ended, I pushed away from the computer and went rummaging through Josh's closet. There had to be something, I figured, though I was afraid to actually find something. I just imagined picking up a skirt, push-up bra, lipstick, and heels among my son's things, and the feeling of horror that came with it. But despite all efforts in turning his closets and drawers upside down, emptying them to the last clothing item, I found nothing, only to be left standing in the pile of mess I'd made. I also looked in all other places he could have hidden such clothing, under the bed, or even under the bed, or maybe even behind those books or video games. Nothing still. Maybe I'm reading too much into that. Am I, Josh? I wondered. I wish I had known the answer. I wish Josh was alive to tell me what it meant for him. I knew it had to mean something, after all. Callum told me time and time again that it wasn't just a game. I sighed. It was a long day. I went to bed and lied down, but my mind was reeling so much I couldn't sleep. I thought about the implications of what I intended to do. It felt so daunting, the idea of interacting with those characters. Could I stand up for myself? The people behind them take the concept so seriously. I have to push through. If I was going to do this, I couldn't be intimidated by that thought. I picked up Josh's journal from my nightstand and flipped through the pages again, paying special attention to his drawings of Isabel. Joshy, why couldn't you tell me what was going through your head? Why wouldn't you share with me your deepest, truest of thoughts? Would I really have been so judgmental? When I reached the last entry, I saw that it was dated the day before he died. Seeing that gave me chills. I took a deep breath and looked at the drawing. A remarkable sketch of a landscape with trees, grass, and rocks on what appeared to be a cliff. Though nothing was drawn in the background, every time I glanced in it, it seemed to unveil new details, like a Van Gogh painting. I marveled so much at it that I missed something I should have noticed right away. When I reached the last entry, I saw that it was dated the day before he died. Seeing that gave me chills. I took a deep breath and looked at the drawing. A remarkable sketch of a landscape with trees, grass, and rocks on which appeared to be a cliff, though nothing was drawn in the background. Every time I glanced at it, it seemed to unveil new details, like a Van Gogh painting. I marveled so much at it that I missed something I should have noticed right away. An actual X marking a spot. My eyes nearly popped out of their sockets from the sheer shock when I saw it, and my throat felt dry. Whatever that place was, I had to find it, and I couldn't believe I hadn't noticed it before. I thought about telling Callum about it, but that felt almost like betrayal. For some reason, it felt like a special message from my son, intended only for me. I have to find that place. It's the last thing I do, I told myself. I rushed into Josh's room like a mad woman. The VR was in my sight. All I needed to do was put it on my head. My hands were shaking so much as I reached for it. I'm coming for you, Josh. I'm coming for you.